Ferrari's greatest legends. Ferrari 250 GTO. Strange as it sounds, Ferrari never expected the 250 GTO to become the world's most valuable classic car. It had a much simpler job: win races. Engineers built a lighter, sharper GT machine that stayed just legal enough to compete while remaining road usable. It worked. Ferrari started winning. Rivals struggled to catch up, and the car quickly earned a reputation that spread well beyond the track. Only a handful were made, so owning one became almost impossible. Then prices started climbing, and climbing again. Today, people aren't just buying a Ferrari, they're buying the story behind it. The strange part is that Ferrari never planned any of this. It simply built a great racing car. Everything else came later. Ferrari F40. You usually hear an F40 before you see it. The whistle of its twin turbos and the roar behind them leave no doubt what's coming. Ferrari built it to celebrate 40 years of the company. But there was another goal. Sports cars were becoming heavier, quieter, and softer. Ferrari went the opposite way. Comfort disappeared. Weight came off. The focus stayed on the driver. It also became the last new Ferrari personally approved by Enzo Ferrari, giving it a place no later model could ever claim. Owners accepted the harsh ride because nothing else felt quite like it. Even today, enthusiasts still argue nothing captures Ferrari's raw spirit better, which created a problem. How do you build the next flagship after something people already call perfect? La Ferrari. For decades, the words hybrid Ferrari sounded almost impossible to imagine. Many enthusiasts believed electric power would take away everything they loved about the brand. Ferrari wasn't convinced. Tougher emissions rules and stronger competition meant the company couldn't keep doing things the old way forever. Instead of replacing emotion, engineers used electricity to make the familiar V12 even more exciting. It was a gamble. Some fans stayed skeptical until they finally experienced the car for themselves. Then opinions started changing. Hybrid technology suddenly didn't feel like a compromise anymore. It felt fast. It felt exciting. Most importantly, it still felt like a Ferrari. That surprised a lot of people. If Ferrari's boldest cars rewrote the rules, where did a company willing to take those risks actually begin? The birth of Ferrari. Ferrari 125S. It all started because Enzo Ferrari refused to give up. After leaving Alfa Romeo, he wasn't allowed to build cars under his own name for several years. The moment that restriction ended, he got to work. The Ferrari 125S became the first car to wear the famous badge in 1947. It wasn't built to impress wealthy buyers. It was built to win races and prove Enzo could succeed on his own. The gamble paid off with early victories, giving the young company confidence, but not security. Ferrari had finally arrived. Now it had to find a way to stay alive. Ferrari 166 Inter. Winning races earned Ferrari respect, but respect didn't pay the bills. The company needed customers, not just trophies. That's why the 166 Inter became Ferrari's first true road car. For the first time, wealthy buyers could own a Ferrari instead of simply watching one race. It was a smart trade. Sell road cars so the racing team could keep chasing victories. That decision quietly shaped Ferrari for decades. Ferrari 250 series. One successful car can change a company. The Ferrari 250 series changed everything. From elegant grand tourers to championship-winning racers, these cars proved Ferrari could build machines that were beautiful, exciting, and genuinely enjoyable to drive. Owners loved them. Racers trusted them. Even people who knew very little about cars began recognizing the Ferrari name. The company was no longer a small Italian race team trying to prove itself. Expectations suddenly became much bigger. Ferrari had earned its reputation. Now it needed to build faster, more exciting machines. Building the supercar, Ferrari Daytona. Ferrari had something to prove, and everyone knew it. Rivals were building faster grand tours, while Ferrari's reputation was suddenly under pressure. The Daytona answered in the best way possible. It looked stunning, devoured long journeys, and reminded everyone Ferrari could still build one of the world's quickest GT cars. Drivers loved it. Competitors paid attention. Ferrari wasn't chasing the benchmark anymore. Other companies were starting to chase Ferrari instead. Ferrari Testarossa. Even people who know almost nothing about cars recognize a Testarossa. Those huge side strakes are impossible to mistake. The funny thing is, they weren't added just to look dramatic. Ferrari needed a smarter way to cool a more powerful engine, and the design solved that problem. Then something unexpected happened. Movies, television, posters, and magazine covers turned the Testarossa into one of the biggest automotive celebrities of the decade. Suddenly, it wasn't just a Ferrari anymore. It became the Ferrari people pictured in their heads. That kind of recognition is incredibly difficult to earn, and even harder to replace later. Ferrari F50. Most people expected Ferrari to build another F40. Ferrari refused. Instead, it chased something much closer to a Formula One car for the road. That decision confused plenty of people at first. The F50 wasn't trying to be comfortable or familiar. It wanted drivers to feel connected to the car in a completely different way. Some enthusiasts eventually understood the idea. Others never did. Ferrari didn't seem too worried either way. Ferrari Enzo. Looking at the Enzo, you could tell Ferrari wasn't building cars the old way anymore. Named after the company's founder, it became a showcase for everything Ferrari had learned from years of Formula One racing. Engineers focused on making every part of the car work together, instead of simply adding more power. The result felt futuristic, both inside and out. It quickly became the dream Ferrari for an entirely new generation. But it also changed something bigger. People no longer expected Ferrari's flagship to be just the fastest. They expected it to introduce ideas nobody else had tried first. Ferrari had mastered supercars, but everyday Ferraris were evolving just as quickly. Ferrari for a new generation. Ferrari 458 Italia. The first thing most people remember isn't how the 458 Italia looked, it's how it sounded. That naturally aspirated V8 announced itself long before the car disappeared down the road. Ferrari built it just before stricter emissions rules changed the future forever. Drivers fell in love almost immediately. It felt balanced, exciting, and surprisingly approachable. Many enthusiasts still call it Ferrari's greatest V8 road car, not because it was the fastest, because everything simply clicked. Looking back, the 458 feels like Ferrari's last great goodbye to an era that wasn't coming back. Big changes were already waiting around the corner. Ferrari SF90 Stradale. Ferrari had already tested hybrid technology on its flagship. This time, there was no turning back. The SF90 Stradale became the company's first plug-in hybrid, bringing electric power into Ferrari's regular supercar lineup. Some enthusiasts weren't convinced. Others couldn't wait to drive it. Ferrari listened to both sides, then carried on anyway. That probably tells you everything about the company's mindset. The future had arrived, whether everyone was ready or not. Ferrari Puro Sangue. Ferrari spent years insisting an SUV would never happen. Then, the Puro Sangue arrived anyway. Some fans complained before the covers even came off. Ferrari looked at it differently. Customers wanted more space without giving up the driving experience they expected from the brand. The gamble paid off. Even some early critics changed their minds after getting behind the wheel. Sometimes breaking your own rules turns out to be exactly the right move. Ferrari F80. Every new Ferrari flagship arrives carrying the weight of every legendary model before it. The F80 was no different. People immediately compared it with the F40, the Enzo, and LaFerrari. They always do. Ferrari wasn't trying to build the past again. It wanted to find out what the next generation of performance could look like instead. That meant taking new risks, using new ideas, and accepting that not everyone would agree. Ferrari has never moved forward by making everyone happy. Maybe that's exactly why people keep paying attention.